Tom Cruise's new movie isn't just starring Tom Cruise. I actually think the director may be using his entire public persona to help tell the story.
I assume I need no introduction. Do it.
And that theory might not be that crazy because the director is Alejandro González Iñárritu, the dude who made Birdman. You know, the film that used Michael Keaton's real-life superhero baggage as part of the story? Well, I think he's doing it again. And by the end of this, you'll understand why this might be Tom Cruise's most fascinating non-franchise movie in years. And after that, I'll get you all caught up on the weekend box office. Supergirl did not have the weekend DC needed, and Hollywood had another very weird week with AI, Pixar sequels, and the future of theaters. I'm Matt Johnston, and this is your weekly movie reset. Okay, let's start with what we actually know. Cruise's new film is called Digger, and when the first teaser trailer came out back in December, it was immediately obvious that this is a very different role than we're used to seeing Tom Cruise in. He plays Digger Rockwell in what Warner Brothers describes as a comedy of catastrophic proportions. Apparently, he's the most powerful man in the world, and he embarks on this frantic mission to prove he is humanity's savior before the disaster that he unleashed destroys everything. This sounds really weird already, and it got even weirder last week when the second teaser trailer dropped, and this is not a normal trailer. More than half of it is a look back at Cruise's career, more than 4 decades of him being one of the biggest movie stars in the world. And I mean, just look at some of these comments. Bro is kind of a living legend, and only after that do we actually get a glimpse of some new Digger footage. That's not normal. In fact, I would normally tell you this is bad marketing. It plays like a desperation move from a studio trying to make people interested in a film by falling back on its star power. But I actually don't think that's the case with Digger. Let me tell you why. I think this trailer is designed to do 2 things. 1, create contrast, and 2, provide context. Contrast, like we just discussed, in the sense that this is clearly different than anything Cruise has done before. And context, meaning that Cruise's undeniable career somehow makes him uniquely equipped for the role of Digger Rockwell. I mean, take a look at the video description from the official WB YouTube channel. We've never trusted a man more. Tom Cruise is Digger. And when Cruise and Iñárritu gave theater owners a special look at the movie at CinemaCon back in April, he said this: "It took 4 decades of acting to reach a point where I could play Digger Rockwell." 4 decades of acting just to be qualified to play this role. And when you put that together with this weird trailer situation, this starts to feel like Digger might be more than just another character for Tom Cruise. And this is where Alejandro González Iñárritu becomes really important, because he's done this before. In Birdman, Iñárritu specifically cast Michael Keaton to play a washed-up actor who used to be famous for playing a superhero. And obviously, that worked really well because Michael Keaton actually played Batman in real life, twice. Birdman is fictional, but casting Keaton brought real-world baggage into it. You're not watching a character haunted by his superhero past. You're watching Michael Keaton, the real actor who played Batman, play a fictional character haunted by his superhero past. That extra meta layer is the point, and Iñárritu has said as much. Keaton, obviously, he adds a lot of reality to the film. He is one of the few persons that has worn that cape and is a pioneer of that superhero thing. Iñárritu casted Keaton because he was uniquely equipped for the role, and it added another layer to his movie. And I don't know, I'd say it worked out pretty well for him. So now the obvious question is he doing the same thing again with Tom Cruise? I think the answer is yes. Tom is one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and over the last several years, Cruise has become a walking symbol of Hollywood and theatrical moviegoing. He even is credited for bringing people back out to theaters with movies like Mission Impossible and Top Gun. When he accepted his honorary Oscar, he said this: "Making films is not what I do, it's who I am." So when you take that guy and you cast him as a powerful man with a savior complex, that can't just be a coincidence, right? We've seen Tom Cruise risk his life doing crazy stunts, we've seen him carry franchises, we've seen him champion theatrical moviegoing, but what happens when a director turns that entire image back on him? This is why this is becoming one of the most interesting movies of the year to me. But what do you guys think? Do you think Iñárritu is actually using Tom Cruise's real-life persona to help tell the story, or am I just crazy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right, now let's talk about what actually got people out to the theaters this week. Our biggest winner is still Toy Story 5. It held on to the #1 spot in its second week, and it made about $70 million, which is a pretty big percentage drop from that huge opening weekend, but still a massive number. The movie is pushing toward $300 million domestic in about just 10 days. So yeah, the drop might look steep on paper, but Pixar is still sitting at the top of the summer box office with a 5th movie in a franchise, so that's pretty impressive. My biggest concern is Supergirl. And I hate that because I wanted this to be stronger. You know, this is not the opening that DC needed. It's looking about 40 million domestic, and to be fair, 40 million is not a horrible number in a vacuum, but Supergirl definitely does not exist in a vacuum. This is the second theatrical movie in the new DCU, and it's following up Superman. So this really needed to continue that momentum, and unfortunately, it looks like it did not. I've actually heard some negative things about this one, so I'm not sure it really has great word of mouth, and the budget was around 170 million, which makes this math pretty tough. I think this is a real warning sign for DC, unfortunately. All right, and our biggest surprise, can anyone guess? Yes, Obsession again. Yes, be surprised. I don't even know if a surprise is the right word for this anymore, but it's just incredible what it's doing. It just keeps happening. This movie is in week 7 and it's still brought in about 9 million. That's ridiculous. It's around 230 million domestic at this point and well over 300 million worldwide. This is just not something that you see every day. This is one of the defining box office stories of the year. Our sleeper is Jackass Best and Last. This one brought in between 8 and 9 million. So not a giant opening, but also the budget was modest, around 10 million. So this thing will make its money back easy. And again, more proof that not every film needs to be a monster blockbuster. Sometimes you can take a win just knowing who your audience is and keeping the budget under control and giving people exactly what they came out for. I do want to mention that Michael finally fell out of the top 10. It's a great movie. It just beat Oppenheimer as the highest grossing biopic of all time, not just musical biopic, but just straight up biopic. If you have the chance to see it before it leaves theaters, you totally should. Apparently Brad Bird said no to Ratatouille 2, and honestly, good for him. Apparently Pixar has floated the idea over the years, nothing too aggressive, but kind of the halfway joking about it, hoping Daddy Brad can come in and cook. And his answer was basically, no, we already told that story. Anytime you do something that ends up connecting with people, they automatically think, how about another? To me, that story is told. I love that because Ratatouille is honestly one of Pixar's better films, and I think it works because it just feels complete. I'm not left sitting around wondering what happens in the next chapter of the Remy universe. Google DeepMind is investing $75 million in A24 to help develop filmmaking tools. A24 has become one of the most trusted brands for movie fans who care about originality, filmmakers, horror. With A24 partnering with Google for these AI tools, it's definitely natural for people to have some questions because it could speed up redundant parts of the filmmaking process or help with pre-production. But the scarier version, though, is that once AI gets deeper into the pipeline, it might start influencing creative decisions in ways that people don't really see. I mean, you guys know how I feel about this. AI as a tool is one conversation, but when it starts replacing human creativity, it's another. And it really seems like Hollywood has been trying to convince us that it's just the former. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little concerned. And then we have another future of movies story this week. Sony just invested $100 million into Cosm. Cosm is one of those immersive dome companies. They actually even have a location here in Dallas. But the idea is basically a giant wraparound screen experience that can be used for sports, concerts, live events, and apparently even premium movie screenings. And Sony taking a stake in this is actually kind of interesting to me because it kind of shows where their thinking is going, that they're not just worried about the next movie they're making, but they're also considering the experience. How can they create something unique that will get people out of the house? In the age of streaming and instant gratification, how do you make going out to the theaters feel fresh and worthwhile for the casual fan? I might have to go out and check out one of these Cosm movies for myself. One more quick story before we move on. So apparently Adam McKay had an idea for a Talladega Nights sequel where Ricky Bobby goes to Europe and somehow gets involved with Formula One. I'm sorry, but this sounds incredible. Apparently it never really got off the ground because shooting all the racing stuff would have been a nightmare, and McKay and Will Ferrell actually ended up doing Step Brothers instead. So I definitely can't be mad, but Ricky Bobby in Formula One, shake and bake across Europe, I would have been there opening night. All right, coming soon, we're looking ahead to the July 4th holiday weekend, and it's a little lighter than the last few weeks, but obviously the main movie to watch is going to be the family-friendly Minions and Monsters. This movie will actually technically open on July 1st, so today, but it should still be the biggest opening of the weekend, and apparently this one is the latest in the Despicable Me franchise, and the idea is that the Minions it's back in 1920s Hollywood and they accidentally unleash monsters or something. I'm not entirely sure. The trailers actually have kind of made me smile. So I don't know that I'll see it, but it definitely looks like it's going to be charming like all the Despicable Me movies are. And it'll also be interesting to see how this one plays out with Toy Story 5 still going strong. But our wild card for this weekend is Young Washington. This is an Angel Studio historical drama about George Washington during the French and Indian War. This is probably smart timing on July 4th weekend, and it'll be strong counter programming with all the animation and superheroes and franchises we've had recently. It stars Ben Kingsley, Andy Serkis, Kelsey Grammer, and Mary Louise Parker. And then the smaller one I'm curious about is Lockbox. It's a limited horror release from Daniel Stamm, who directed The Last Exorcism, and it's actually adapted from a cult horror podcast story. And I doubt this one will be that huge, but it's going to be interesting to look at because, as we know, online native horror has kind of been having a moment this summer between Backrooms and Obsession. So I'm interested to see if this continues in any way here, and this will definitely be the under-the-radar pick for horror fans this week. So that'll do it for this week. The big question is, Digger, what'd you guys think of this most recent trailer? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And remember that if you want a weekly reset on what actually matters in movies, make sure you're subscribed. Until next week, see y'all at the movies.